We shouldn't have 90+% of the population having significant gut issues and therefore feeling fatigue, joint issues, blood pressure, cholesterol issues. All these things you can tie back to gut issue because people can't produce HCl. Well, what is the H in HCl? It's hydrogen.
So the deficiency of hydrogen is a major problem.
Yeah, you want hydrogen gas dissolved so it goes through the stomach, through the duodenum or duodenum, and into the small intestine, and then down into the large intestine, which is really where we want it to change the electrical potential, change the tissue in the gut, so we can actually heal the gut.
Could you give me a little framework on that so people can really get a proper equilibrium in this?
So 2 things we can go over with that.
So I'm here today with Paul Barattiero, who is an amazing guy. I met Paul about, it must be at least 15 years ago.
Yes.
And when we met Paul, we right away connected. We did a few things together, and then we both went on a really long journey. And what you've developed in the last years is really mind-blowing and really exciting. So if you could give us a quick snapshot, first of all, of where you are right now and how you got there. And what this means to us and why everyone should be so interested in hearing what you have to tell us today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it all really began 20 years ago with my wife being sick. And so a result of me wanting to help her recover from thyroid issues, gynecological issues, anemia, acute anemia, and a number of other issues going on with her. The result of everything that I did to help her is Echo water. And people are familiar with Echo because it's the number 1 largest brand of hydrogen water in the world. So I was the first to start talking about hydrogen water way back in 2008, 2009. And I was talking about it and people thought I was crazy. And then later they're like, oh, you're brilliant. Just what happens a few years later after studies catch up, right? But here we are today, we're dissolving H2 gas into water. And now we have over 1,400 studies, 200 disease models, roughly over that amount. But we're seeing that hydrogen is therapeutic. And what we really need to understand is that the body is designed to produce hydrogen on its own because hydrogen is critical to every function in the body. So where we are today is the largest company in the world promoting hydrogen water technology and hydrogen water devices, everything from bath units to inhalation to drinking water, portable units that are battery operated to machines that purify water and then dissolve hydrogen gas. So we really meet people where they are and what they need to match their lifestyle and make sure that they have appropriate drinking water that can also improve health.
That's very simple. So the molecule itself, I ran into Tyler way back in the day, and he was just getting going and supported him on a couple of his ventures because nobody was really catching where he was at. And he's got quite a research. Have you tapped much into his research?
So Tyler used to work with me way back in years and years ago. We connected when he was still at BYU, Idaho, and he really hadn't done a tremendous amount yet, but he was just starting the Molecular Hydrogen Foundation, and I helped to fund that. And we became friends. He's amazing. He's brilliant when it comes to hydrogen. And we began talking almost daily. And then he ended up moving to Florida, where we were a block away, and we worked together for a time. And of course, him and I really, if you want to talk about who started the hydrogen water industry, it was him and I talking about it and educating individuals. We went to Japan to the Hydrogen Water Symposium back in 2015. Right. And, him and I went together. We were the only two of three Americans that were there. But, it's been a great history. Tyler is brilliant when it comes to hydrogen. And so we've been involved for years together, and we're still involved today. He is a wonderful resource. So,
yeah, very cool. So I remember when I first started hearing about hydrogen and pH and all those things, it was a guy in 2008 who told me about the Kangen water machine, and it was all the rage, and they set up a big MLM,
Yeah.
and so I bought two of them and told a whole bunch of people, and they bought a whole bunch, But what I didn't know is that there's a whole bunch of criteria around getting that machine to work properly, and within 2 weeks it gets all plugged up and it doesn't filter the water properly,
Correct.
and this whole high alkaline thing, I'm not even sure. Could you give me a little framework on that so people can really get a proper equilibrium in this?
Yes. So the benefits from the Kangen machines came from hydrogen gas, but they never talked about it until I really blew up that industry. And because of Echo, Kangen had to start talking about it. The problem is when we look at natural law, when we're talking about electrolysis or an electrolytic chamber, you have a cathode and an anode, and you have multiples of each of those electrodes. In traditional electrolysis, conductivity within the water is critical for electrolysis to function properly. So you can't overcome the fact that you need minerals in the water to have electrolysis function. But those very minerals, which have a charge to them, and for example, they have a positive electrical charge, they will bond to the negatively charged electrode called the cathode in water electrolysis. And so within 2 weeks to 3 weeks, you'll have calcium and other minerals bonding. And once you have those minerals bonding to the electrodes like they naturally will, and you can't stop that, it's a natural law, you'll lose the ability to dissolve hydrogen gas into the water. It's not that you'll stop producing hydrogen gas, but you'll stop dissolving because the bubbles get too large. The hydrogen bubbles coalesce and come together, and they get too large to be able to dissolve because you're not using pressure or time because it's a flow-through machine. So literally, if people aren't cleaning their Kangen machine every week at least to 2 weeks maximum, they're losing hydrogen in the water. And so the very benefit that is there is lost until they clean it again. And that's even in the warranty. In the warranty of the Kangen machines, it says you have to clean every 2 weeks if you want hydrogen. So you can't use distilled water or reverse osmosis that doesn't have minerals in it because their machine won't work correctly. And so that's why they talk so negatively about distilled water or reverse osmosis and call it dead water and all these things that are not really true. So what we did going back many years ago in 2009, 2010, when I began developing the Echo brand, we had a patented process that every time you turn the machine on, the cathodes and anodes would swap electrical potential. Right. So the cathode would become anode and the anode become cathode. And so therefore, any tiny, tiny amounts of minerals would be pushed back off because you've changed the electrical potential on the electrode itself. So that's what we were doing when Echo was launched. The machines, the Echo 7, which was the first machine we launched, they had in it that patented process. And we still have that in our one device that still people can get alkaline and acid water, not for drinking, but for cleaning and disinfecting, right? Mm-hmm. So really what I developed when we talk about the Echo brand is we talked about a hydrogen module that uses a proton exchange membrane. And we were the first to do that. So we were the first to introduce proton exchange membranes in a product that was viable, commercially sold. And what this meant was that we could use distilled water and reverse osmosis water and have that purity, but dissolve hydrogen gas into that water so that you're drinking water that was pure and that had hydrogen gas. And so that was a big deal. Now, you could also put water with minerals into the Echo machines because it wouldn't bother the electrodes. In the hydrogen module, because we're using a proton exchange membrane, one of the patents we have is the cathode never is in contact with water. So we're just harvesting hydrogen gas in the chamber, and we're pushing that hydrogen gas out to another stream of water that has never been in an electrolysis chamber of any kind. And that's one of the things that Echo has always had in its machines, so that there's purity and there's no degradation of water and there's no potential of anything in the water because you're just adding gas or dissolving gas through a dissolving chamber.
So that's super unique because even these other different bottles that are on the market that are claiming to put hydrogen in is a very small amount. And like you pointed out, it's not the right size. Does it have to be like a nano-bubble or what is the actual size?
Yeah, it needs to be nano so that they can dissolve unless you're utilizing pressure. In bottles like the Echo Go Plus, we build up a pressure around 45 psi. And so therefore you can put the hydrogen into a dissolved state because you're going beyond 1 atmosphere. But when you're at 1 atmosphere, which is what we all mostly live at, and you have a flow through device, unless you keep the hydrogen bubbles tiny, you can't dissolve them into water because you don't have time and you don't have pressure on your side.
Right. So you get this flavor but it's just because the bubbles are totally the wrong size and they've accumulated or aggregated and made it so it's not going to get into your cells. So it's really wasting your time and money.
Yeah, you want hydrogen gas dissolved so it goes through the stomach, through the duodenum or duodenum, and into the small intestine, and then down into the large intestine, which is really where we want it to change the electrical potential, change the tissue in the gut, change the biome and the terrain so we can actually heal the gut, which we've done in as little as 2 weeks with individuals. And all at the same time, when hydrogen hits the stomach, of course, within 3 to 5 minutes, you have ghrelin secretions going to the brain, which can change cognitive function. You can change a lot of things, motor skills, tremors, and ADHD, ADD, things like this, where you literally are changing the brain. And then once it goes down deeper into the system, it's the hydrogen gas that is signaling what's called signal modulation. It's signaling pathways to work correctly, your antioxidant pathways, all kinds of pathways. And so it's really the gas that matters. The pH of the water is unimportant to the body. And the reason being is your stomach has a high buffering capacity for anything that goes into it. So even though people are fed marketing information that if they drink a 9.5 pH water, for example, it's going to make their blood alkaline, that's false information because as soon as it hits the stomach, it's not going to be 9.5 pH anymore. Like within a second, it's going to be buffered down to what the stomach is, which is a 3 to 5 pH range. Bile is 1.5. You add gastric juice to dilute a little bit, and you have a 3 to 5 range of pH. The reality is pH has nothing to do with health when it comes to something we put in our mouth. It's not going to affect blood. This is what's being taught by organizations that have no scientific efficacy because let's just walk down that road. If drinking water at a 9.5 positively affected your blood, drinking one soda or one lemon water would put you into shock because it would plummet your blood pH. So you can't own only one side of the equation, right? For every reaction, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? You can't get past that. So we know, those that have medical training, that carbonic acid through breath is how pH in blood is regulated. And it's the actual respiratory process that's affecting blood pH, not what you put in the stomach.
Yeah, and plus the body intelligence is going to hold that blood at 7.365 approximately all the time, no matter what you do. Because if it doesn't, you're dead.
That's right. Yeah, your window is 7.35 to 7.45. That is your range that blood can be. And when you get outside of that, your body begins to go into shock.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So all the false information is what we want to get rid of, number one. Yeah. Number two, replace that so people can be educated by this intel so they can make proper decisions and not spend their time, energy, effort, and money on something that is not delivering. This is the problem with the natural healing world. Is there's far too many things out there. Like in my estimation, it's like 95% of stuff out there literally does not deliver.
Right.
And it's just companies making money on incredibly powerful marketing. And they're educating people with authority, but they're not giving them the goods. So, being on the ground, you've been doing this longer than anyone I know. Yeah. And you've kept iterating. You kept putting money back into the research to be able to bring yourself to the place where you can serve people with a legitimate, validated product that actually they sense very quickly. Like, you're talking about the body will heal itself, but you got to give it the tools to do it.
That's right.
So the deficiency of hydrogen is a major problem. Just like dehydration is a major problem.
That's right. Yeah, so everything, let's go as simple as there's a high occurrence of stomach and digestion issues in the world because people can't produce HCl. Well, what is the H in HCl? It's hydrogen. So if you don't have hydrogen in your body, you can't produce HCl. So one of the basic things for digestion is getting hydrogen back in the body, because our gut, our intestinal tract, particularly in the colon, when we have fermentation going on, we will produce hydrogen gas. We effectively, if you want to understand it, we have a hydrogen generator built into our intestinal tract. If we have the right bacteria, and that's the big if we have the right bacteria, we can convert fatty acids and fiber, short chain and medium chain fatty acids to be exact, and fiber into hydrogen gas. We should, and we have the capability to produce 10 to roughly, it's not exact science, but 10 to 12 liters of hydrogen gas per day. We call that flatulence. I jokingly say sometimes fart therapy, right? Because what's in those flatulence can be beneficial to us, clearly. So hydrogen is one of the gases that would be contained with flatulence, and hydrogen itself is a signal modulator. When it hits the intestinal tract, it regulates a lot of biomolecules, over 200 biomolecules in the body. It regulates pathways. It begins to affect mitochondrial function almost immediately, with hydroxyl radicals not being formed, which is the most cytotoxic oxygen radical in the human body. There's so many things that I tell people, just drink the water and then see what's left, because hydrogen itself is going to cause the body to function the way it's supposed to. And so many of the supplements that people are selling are simply to mimic what hydrogen would be doing naturally in the body. And so I tell people, just drink the water with hydrogen in it and then see what's left to work on. And typically that may be something that's emotional. It may be something else that needs to be, treated a little bit differently from trauma or what have you. But the reality is, when you give the body hydrogen, which is a major tool, I mean, if we really understand our body, we are carbon hydrogen chains. If you really go down to the mechanism and the molecular structure of what we are, we're carbon hydrogen chains. So we have to have hydrogen to function appropriately. I didn't create hydrogen. I know that's surprising, but joking, of course. But what I've done is given people a vehicle through water to get hydrogen back into the body where it's supposed to be, not only to heal the gut, but to regulate pathways immediately while your gut is healing. And that's been so enjoyable for me over the last 20 years, is being able to watch people that have major issues no longer have those issues, because you're taking away the source problem, which is oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. So if we really understand the cause of disease, which is oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, when you combine those two things in the body, you will have disease. So that's what hydrogen is. At its core, it reduces oxidation and inflammation.
Right. And when a person is young, they don't have the gut issues normally. They don't get gut issues till they get older. And so the body's producing a lot of hydrogen for the hydrochloric acid in the gut, keeping their gut healthy. They hit about 21. And then by the time they're 30, they may have some issues showing up, 40, 50, 60. So the older a person is, the more inefficient they are at producing hydrogen because of all the other contaminants that they're breathing in the air with the pollution and things like that. So the hydrogen is able to get rid of these free radicals, right? And able to help the body to have its energy in the mitochondrial level, where the mitochondrial engine is absolutely essential. A kid running around has endless energy, and you don't see that in a 70-year-old, but you could.
Not usually.
Right. That's right.
I tell you, that is absolutely the case. the body, when it's younger, can deal with a lot of abuse. As we age, we're really using up resources that are not being replenished. And so we eventually run out of resources until we replenish them. So I'm definitely not 70, but I'm 52 and I have energy all the time. I really don't have any medical issues. I love signing all these forms because it's always no, 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 all the way down. There's no issues. And, I hike and do all these things. And, I'm not doing anything. I don't take a lot. People say, oh, you should be taking supplements. I don't take a lot of supplements. I let food be my medicine. I do eat whole foods and I eat clean food. This is the thing that I wanted to share is people are younger and younger now that are getting sicker and are depleting their resources because earlier than we've ever seen in medicine, individuals are losing gut function because of chemicals that are coming into their body that can be harmful for the intestinal tract. Pesticides, heavy metals. And then we talk about relationships and stress. That has a huge role. In fact, I might argue that stress is more damaging than any food you're going to put in your body. But because of these stressors, whether they be chemicals, whether they be emotional, whether they be relationship driven, whether they be money, whatever it is, this can destroy our intestinal tract, or what we call our biome, or the terrain of our gut. And so that's what we need to protect. And so not having pesticides, not having what I call overuse of antibiotics. And I say overuse because if you have a life-threatening bacterial infection, then an antibiotic is the right thing to do. But if you have a virus, for example, is no sense taking an antibiotic. It's not going to do anything but harm your gut. But we overuse them. And so many people have gut dysfunction and then they don't know what to do about it. They have no idea that they could drink water for 2 weeks and have significant increase in gut function, potentially complete restoration of their gut. And so this is what I'm most passionate. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice, but it's what I'm most passionate about is preventing pathology and unnecessary pain that people are experiencing.
Right. And they're also, if their gut health is compromised, they're not going to be getting the nutrients out of their food to give them the energy.
Yep.
If they're eating genetically modified organisms or conventional food that is sprayed with human excrement, right? That's the one thing I like about organic is that they're not allowed to use human waste on their fields.
Right.
And, the organic is not always exactly perfect, but it's a heck of a lot better than conventional.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you're able to eat much less because you're getting so much more of the food. Your body doesn't have to work so hard. Yeah. And then it doesn't have to detox all that stuff as well.
Right.
That is unnecessary. So this hydrogen supplementation through the water, what are your thoughts around these little tablets that they're marketing to people to put into water? And then they drink it with this hydrogen gas that you can see in there.
So the tablets predominantly come from one person in the world right now, out of a gentleman in Canada. And actually it produces hydrogen gas. Yes, it is appropriate. It is a way definitely to get hydrogen gas and it is efficacious. It's too expensive in my opinion. That's the downside of tablets is it doesn't taste good. It's got a very strong taste of magnesium, which not everybody likes. And so compliance is low. That's why I created this. I was selling tablets, like thousands of bottles of tablets years ago. You're talking 12 years ago now. And I created the bottles that have a rechargeable battery so that all you have to do is push the button and you can kind of see the bubbles coming up there.
Right.
And that is H2 gas only. On the bottom, you see right here, let me see if I can, there you go. You see that metal port? That's where oxygen and chlorine, if any is produced or anything's in the water, is coming out. So that just hydrogen gas, pure hydrogen H2 gas is going up into the bottle. That has a cleaner taste because you're supposed to use purified water or at least filtered water in here. So you're not going to have the magnesium taste. You're not going to have compliance issues. And it's not costing you $50 a month for one person to have hydrogen. This bottle, which is the number one purchase and sold, we've sold over 100,000 of these bottles.
Right.
This is the number one trusted and sold. You buy this once and you have a 5-year warranty. So clearly, if you think $50 a month, that's $600 a year times five. That's $3,000 to do what this does for $250.
Mm-hmm.
And right now it's on sale anyways, and we do Black Friday stuff. But the reality is this is, in my opinion, a better solution than, because imagine if you had 2 people in your house or 4 people in your house, how are you going to get enough tablets, and how are you going to choose who gets the magic tablets? Whereas here you can just make more water, and it's totally different. So I don't know. I always think of what is more effective from a cost perspective to have someone heal their gut and be able to accomplish their divine potential, which is what I really want people to do, is to be able to do what they want to do and not have to spend a ton of money every month. I just want to give them a solution that can help their entire family with one time. And that's really what I like to do. Yes, I could make products that they would have to buy every month, but to me, I don't know. I just have never been excited about that. Not that we ever are not going to. I can let you have a big secret. We are introducing stick packs where people can have a stick pack that they dump into a bottle of water that's sour apple flavored, that's going to provide 10 parts per million of hydrogen. And it will be a heck of a lot less for a monthly cost for people to do, because we create it on our own and are manufacturing that. So we will have that, but we're not just giving hydrogen, we're giving other ingredients that can help with joint issues, help with other things. So it's not just hydrogen, because you can get that here. We want to help them with other issues they're having while they're getting the hydrogen, because they really work and coincide together. But what I love about it is that isn't their only source. We're not just selling the stick packs. We have water machines. We have portable units. We have everything that people can get to get hydrogen into their life.
Right. And so that bears us to the next question. So I've seen all these different hydrogen bottles out in the market, some from MLM, some from direct sale or whatever. Some of them are very expensive.
Yep.
The actual amount ratio-wise of hydrogen in the water varies all over the place.
Oh,
and this unit you have has the patented different intellectual property within it.
Yep.
What is the percentage? Can you educate us on what's out there, what's the norm, and where does yours stand out of the crowd significantly?
So 2 things we can go over with that. This bottle has 2 cycles, a 5-minute when you push the button once, and if you push it a second time, it's a 10-minute cycle. On the 5-minute cycle, you'll get 2.5 parts per million of hydrogen gas dissolved into the water. This bottle is 10 ounces, is its total capacity. If it's the 10-minute cycle, it's at least 4.5 parts per million of hydrogen gas, which is plenty for what you need. In many of the studies, 0.5 part per million was considered therapeutic. But the reason we put so much is maybe someone's not going to drink it right away. Maybe they're going to take 20 minutes. Maybe they're going to take a half an hour. So we have tested at H2 Analytics the bottle to validate, A, that it's producing the hydrogen, and we test through gas chromatography. We also tested how long the hydrogen will stay in our water in an open glass like this, for example, and that is 2 hours.
Wow.
The hydrogen will stay in there for 2 hours before you've lost a majority. In a bottle like this, when you have it under pressure, it's going to hold the hydrogen in suspension. And so we need to understand that that's why the bottle is so great, because you can keep it. But this will produce 4.5 parts per million. Now, there is a new bottle that we've developed that will be the first bottle sold outside of China from a manufacturing country perspective. It's the first bottle that's not going to be made in China. We've developed it from the ground up, and it will be made in our own facility, and that will produce 7 to 8 parts per million in that bottle, and it's 12 ounces. So that's going to be available very shortly in the next few weeks. So this is the Echo Go Plus, which is the best, highest quality bottle in the world. This is plastic. People ask a lot about plastic and say, why are you doing plastic? If this was glass, it would shatter at the pressure which we build up. So the bottles on the market that are glass, they're not building up much pressure because they would shatter. We have people on our Facebook page that show other bottles they've purchased that are shattered
Right.
and they end up buying our bottles. So the concern with plastic is microplastics, right? But
Mhm.
we've already tested this third-party laboratory. There are no microplastics in our plastic. And when you subject this to extreme heat and extreme environmental thing, it won't produce or degrade to where you have plastics in the water. And of course, you're not heating this up anyways. But the point is, we did, through testing, exert all kinds of things to see, do the plastics get released, and they do not. And so this is very important, that this plastic is healthy plastic. And it's important for people to understand that now they'll have a bottle that won't break when they drop it, and it won't break. At least the plastic won't break when they drop it, and it won't shatter under pressure. So we can provide them the hydrogen and really no negatives.
Yeah, cool. And there are so many technologies around these different substrates that are really, really good.
Yeah.
And they do not leach, even though they say under heat conditions.
Yeah.
So that alleviates those concerns completely. The charge, how long does it take to charge the battery to full charge?
Roughly an hour, hour or
That's pretty
two.
good.
That's
And how
all.
long will that last you?
So 20 on the 5 minute, the one push, it'll do 20 bottles full on a full charge. So it's pretty good. I mean, I think what people need to understand is this isn't designed to be your water source
Mhm.
because you should be drinking half your body weight in ounces. If you weigh 100 pounds, 50 ounces, right? If you weigh 200 pounds, 100 ounces of water a day. And if you're drinking a lot of soup or smoothies, count that in as your water intake. But the point is, this isn't designed at 10 ounces to be your water source. This is designed to get hydrogen into your system,
Mhm.
milligrams per liter of hydrogen. And so this was designed for two reasons: travel and skeptical people.
Right.
If someone doesn't want to spend $2,000 on a machine they're going to have the rest of their life to produce hydrogen water and filter the water, they can pay a fraction of that for a bottle and see what it does for them. If they have issues they want resolved, once they feel the benefits, they'll still keep this as a travel bottle, but they might get an additional device that has a higher capacity. We even have a rechargeable battery product that's half a gallon. We call it the Echo family. So you don't have four people trying to drink this, which could be a 20-minute process to make four of them, right?
Right.
So we have a pitcher that's 57 ounces that will give a family their morning cup of Echo water so that they can have hydrogen.
Cool. Now you mentioned other equipment. What other devices do you have that will plug into the wall that are not portable? And what's the parts per million? And what is the approximate cost for that? And how long do they last? So that people can say, this is only costing me so many, units per day of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's going to last so long.
So we have, in addition to the two bottles and the pitcher, which are the portable devices, we have three machines. One is called the Echo Server or the Echo Flow. That is designed to go with filtration. There is no filter in that device. So if someone already has a reverse osmosis or they already have filtration in their home, that's the perfect device to combine with what they already have. It's our least expensive machine, and that has a 10-year warranty. All of our portable products have a 5-year warranty. All of the machines have a 10-year warranty where you have peace of mind. We then have, and that's an under sink unit, and we have a reverse osmosis system, the Echo RO, that is tankless. It produces a 1/4 gallon a minute of pure water that will combine then into the Echo Flow to put hydrogen into that water that is pure. And those both go under the sink. They don't take up much room because you don't have the big tank. You have a tankless system that's producing a 1/4 gallon a minute on demand. The next two machines we have can be under sink or above counter. One is the Echo H2, and it makes two types of water, filtered only and then hydrogen, that's also
Hmm.
filtered. And that can be on top of the counter. It can be in a clinic. We have many chiropractic doctors' offices that have those machines in their practice so they can give the water to their clients or patients. Then we have our ultimate machine, which is the most expensive, the highest end. It has a touch screen, a 7-inch touch screen, because it makes 4 types of water: filtered only, hydrogen, alkaline, 4 levels, and acid water, 4 levels. Now, I'm not advocating that you drink alkaline water. The alkaline water is there to clean dirt. The higher the pH, the more of a surfactant water becomes. So it becomes a
Right.
solvent, and you can clean dirt and have a chemical-free kitchen. That's really why we produce that machine, so that people can have the acid water, which has hypochlorous acid for spraying eyes, for skin, for psoriasis, for eczema, all kinds of things. Their indoor plants will thrive when they give it lower pH water.
Hmm.
That machine is called the Ultimate, the Echo Ultimate, and it makes 4 types of water. And even the faucet is a touchscreen, a 3-inch touchscreen, so you can control what waters are coming out. So those are the 3 machines that we have in our product line. We also have whole house systems to get the contaminants out of your water. We have softeners if you have hard water. So we have everything that you need to do. And then beyond that, we have about bath units, the Echo Revive, which is a bath unit where you can take a bath and the machine pulls water out of the bath and then replaces it with 2 parts per million of hydrogen gas in that water. It almost looks like milk going in the water because there's so much hydrogen gas. And that is good for collagen. It's good for wrinkles. It's good for skin integrity. It's good for all these things. And it's just another way to get hydrogen into your body. And then finally, we have inhalation, which is where you would breathe in hydrogen. There are more benefits with getting hydrogen through water because you're hydrating yourself and you're getting it into the gut to fix the gut, to heal the gut. However, there are a lot of people that think inhalation is wonderful for long COVID, for lung issues particularly. And so we do have the best inhalation device where you don't need to clean it every 2 weeks. You don't need to put lye in it. You don't have any of these harmful chemicals that you're breathing in and can smell. It's pure hydrogen gas where you only put distilled water into the device, distilled or reverse osmosis. The water has to be below 6 parts per million of TDS, and it will produce all the hydrogen. 1,800 milliliters per minute is the flow rate. You could run 2 people at one time or 1 person. And so that is our Echo Refresh, which is an inhalation unit. And so we really are the only company that has everything from rechargeable products to machines to inhalation to bath units, all at one place where you have our warranty. And we're the largest company in the world, so we're not going anywhere. You know, we do a lot of business. We ship sometimes 3,000 to 4,000 shipments a day. So we're going to be here, and we're going to be here to serve you and help you.
Right. And you're just scratching the surface right now, and you're already the largest company in the space.
Yeah.
The thing that I love the most, because I bought the Brown's gas machines with the lye and all that stuff, what a
Yeah.
total pain in the butt.
Yeah.
And they break down, and they're expensive.
Yeah.
They're pricey.
Yeah.
And so the breathing goes into the lungs, and then it transfers right into the bloodstream immediately. So that's quite a different mechanism. How much hydrogen can you get breathing versus drinking that goes through the gut?
So there's only so much you're going to support in your blood. We did learn that from a particular cancer study from years ago, 2018, where there was a colon cancer study, and they looked at the difference with cancer between what we call naturally occurring hydrogen water from Mount Fuji in Japan to high content hydrogen water, like what we produce. And even though the high content hydrogen water had 8 times the hydrogen as the naturally occurring hydrogen water that they got from Mount Fuji, there was only a 25% increase in the blood. So clearly we know the relationship in the body is not linear. Even though we put 8 times the hydrogen, only 25% more ended up in the blood. And so what I want to dispel is you don't need to have the highest amount of hydrogen. You just need to have hydrogen in your system, because hydrogen is a signal modulator. It's not a 1-to-1 ratio, molecule by molecule. It's a modulator that is causing things to work the way they're supposed to. And so like a fire alarm in a building, the louder it is doesn't make it better or worse. As long as you hear it, you are modulated or you know what you should be doing. The fact that you heard it modulated everyone in the building. And so making it louder isn't the thing that's going to be more effective. You just need to hear it. And having more hydrogen isn't more effective. It's just getting hydrogen in your body. So all of our devices produce a minimum of 1.5 with our machines when they're flow through machines. The Ultimate does make 1.8 parts per million. It is our most effective machine, but the difference of 1.5 and 1.8 is nothing. It's negligible for the body. 1.5 is plenty of hydrogen, especially when you're drinking it every day. And so the fact that you can pressurize this and make more is fine. But again, people should not be overly concerned about how much hydrogen and getting the highest parts per million. It really is not that critical. You just need to have hydrogen in your body every day. Think about it again. If you were naturally producing flatulence, you would just have hydrogen per day coming in your system and everything would be working great and we wouldn't worry about it. But that's why I created it, because my wife had significant gut issues and I was able to help her. And I'll be honest, I had no clue what this would do for society, how many disease models, who knew that 220 disease models would be helped by hydrogen? I had no idea. I was just doing what I felt inside I should do, because once I helped my wife, I said, there's got to be many other people. And clearly there are. And so just get hydrogen in your system every day and live your best life.
Yeah, and the only way people can actually find out that's true is by doing it themselves. There is no other way. And it educates the body, and the body loves it, and the body responds with, it rewards people who are doing this by just simply having a better quality of life. And it's, to me, this is a master key, because there are thousands of keys down here. Like you talk about 200 different disease models. Well, how many thousands of keys would you have to deal with all those symptoms? Forget that. You're simply giving the body back something that it can not go into those categories. You know, we don't want to talk about disease names, because I use two words now. My goal is one thing: perfect health, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, domestically, financially, and environmentally.
Yeah.
And that means healthy. When you're healthy in finance, you're not greedy, chasing money, trying to get rich, right? Because if you chase money, it runs away from you.
That's right.
If you look to create value for people, is what you're doing. But this whole, everything that you and I live in, is to create a higher quality of life for people in every single category. And this one touches so many categories. That's why I refer to it as a master key. A master key displaces the need for all these other, thousands of keys from pharmaceutical or nutraceutical or whatever is out there,
right?
Which are all to make money on people's lack of wellness.
Right.
So you're bringing the wellness into the picture in a profound way. And that's why your company is growing, because I've known you, you're super low key, you're a businessman, you watch the numbers because you want to serve more people.
Right.
And the only measurement you and I actually have at the end of the day of how many people we're serving is the amount of revenue that is being flowed back out into the world, that comes in through the funnel and then goes right back out there. We're not running around trying to be jet setter rich guys. This is the last thing in our mind. And my lifestyle is so low key. We've got our little farm and we've got our nice little factory, and we do our thing, and we chose only 15 products that I've run into so far. I'm very excited about this interview, Paul, because this allows me to then share this extremely important information with our tribe and the people who are counting on us to bring the top level. You can get good, great, greater, and then up here, way up here is the greatest. Well, this is where you should go. And when I talk about perfect health, people say, well, you can't have perfect health. I say, well, if you say that statement, that's true for you. But I say you can have perfect health in every category.
I agree. If your body has the tools and we're not constantly band-aiding, right? To quote Tyler has talked about, how do you know which device to choose? Because in all honesty, ever since we blew up, and you asked the question, how did we get to the largest company in the world? It was really Joe Rogan talking about our product on his podcast. And podcast number 2060, I believe, him and Gary Brecka were talking about Echo Water. And it blew up. We went from selling 1 to 2,000 of these bottles a month to 20,000 in the next month, and it was crazy. But we kept up. It was another set of problems, but we were able to get caught up within 60 days, 90 days. We were able to have excess inventory again. But we had no idea he was going to talk about the water. This wasn't a planned thing. We were caught by surprise. And all of a sudden, it 10x'd our monthly sales in a month. And oh my gosh, I'm so grateful. I have so much gratitude that we were able to weather that. But it's kept at that level now. It's over a year ago, a year and 2 months since Joe talked about it, and Dana White and all these individuals. But in sports, it's a big deal. We have so many UFC fighters now. We have so many teams like the Dodgers and the Raiders that are using our water, and other teams are talking, of course, the Braves and all these teams are wanting to use it. Why? Because fatigue is cut down almost to nothing when you have hydrogen in your system, because your mitochondria is functioning. And again, that's what the body should be experiencing. We shouldn't have gut damage so widely. We shouldn't have 90+% of the population having significant gut issues and therefore feeling fatigue, joint issues, blood pressure, cholesterol issues. All these things you can tie back to gut issue. And so hydrogen affects all of these things. And where you can go as an individual who is skeptical or wanting to know, I developed a site. And I have an amazing PhD who manages this for me. All the studies are sitting on hydrogenstudies.com. If you go to www, of course, or just hydrogenstudies with an s.com, that is a public service for you. So you can go out Friday night when you're bored and nothing else going on, go type in a disease model, go type in a pathway, go type in nitric oxide, go type in peptides, go type in whatever you want to understand if hydrogen affects it or not, and it will query all of the studies, and it will put in front of you all the studies that relate to hydrogen and that query that you gave it. Now, you can go in and change the subject to only human studies. You can go to animal studies. You can go to certain types of animals. You can go to certain countries. You can go to whatever it is that you want to parse the data with. It is a beautiful engine that we've put on there for you so that you can do the research for your loved ones and yourself.
Very cool. Now, when it comes to pets, could you take the hydrogen water and add that to their food and it will stay in the water while they're eating their meal?
I would put it in their water bowl, and just know that in the case of a glass where you have surface area across the top, but you have depth in this glass, the hydrogen is going to stay there longer. In a typical dog bowl, you're going to have shallow and large surface area. Mm-hmm. And so you will end up with losing the hydrogen gas faster. But this is what's interesting. Animals are smarter than we are, or they have better senses than we do when it comes to their nose. They know when there's hydrogen in there. In fact, one of my dear friends for many years and a strong supporter is Dr. Pompa, right? Yes. Dr. Pompa has my system in his home for years. He promotes and endorses our system. He has a few dogs. Anyone that knows Dr. Pompa know they travel with their dogs. They go everywhere. They love their dogs. He has a dog called Friendly, and this dog demands my hydrogen water in the bowl. If it's been sitting there for a while, he'll go over and push the bowl and go whine, and they'll go give the dog fresh water, and it will drink the water. It knows. Funny story. Of 2 years ago, he called me up and he goes, Paul, I got to tell you the story. He goes, Friendly, she loves your water. She's your biggest endorser. And I said, I know, she's amazing. But he goes, she was whining for the water, and I gave water to the bowl, and I knew there was water with hydrogen in the bowl. And she would go down there and no, I don't want it. And she goes, I had just poured it fresh. And he said to me, I was like, wait a minute. Are you that picky now that you have to have it extremely like 1 minute fresh? And then all of a sudden it dawned on him. He goes, I wonder if something's happened to the machine under my sink that it's not putting hydrogen. He looks under there and the outlet had lost power for some reason and the machine wasn't on. So he went and hit the brake. He went and got it set up, got the machine back running. The dog was happy. And so he didn't know there was no hydrogen in his water, but the dog knew. And so animals are instinct. They know when something is good for them. We have daycare centers, doggy daycares. We have vets that use our water in their practices, and the dogs know the difference. So it absolutely can help animals. The doggy daycares have said to me, Paul, we no longer have any sick dogs. Their eyes are all clear. No more are their coats not shiny. All of their coats are shiny. All of them don't have arthritis. All of them are running around having the best life after we put your water in here. So just know that most dogs are fed kibble, and for the kibble to be able to go through the machine, it's got to be 60% carbs and sugar, or it will plug up the machine. So imagine if human beings ate potato chips that were 60% sugar, we would all have diabetes. And I would say to you that 50% of dogs and cats have cancer and diabetes today because of their not eating a species appropriate diet. Not everybody wants to feed their dog a species appropriate diet, but I did. And I will tell you, our dog is 16 years old. This is our second animal that's 16 years old. When they get meat and when they get things that are good for them, they can live way longer than people think animals and not have arthritis and not have all these issues. So dogs like us suffer the same disease models as we do for the same reasons. So if you're not going to do it for yourself, do it for your dogs, because a lot of people will do stuff for their animals they won't even do for themselves or their children, crazy enough. But I'm telling you, your dog will know the difference.
Yeah, so I have two Goldens who are fed all like their high-end show quality bread, and they're champions, but they eat every 12 hours. They have only raw meat, ground up with the organs, ground up with the cartilage. And they are powerhouses. So this is going to be really interesting. I'm going to be getting one of the plug-in machines as well. Awesome. And I'll let you know what happens with them.
Oh, they're going to love it.
Yeah. And the reason I asked about adding water to the food is I got this little Siberian cat. He's probably been wandering around in the background here, but he doesn't drink water at all. I have to put water into his food, and then he eats it immediately. So that's the only reason I asked if it would release the hydrogen or the water if I mixed it with food.
It'll stay there for a while. I will tell you this, and I learned this with Dr. Mercola's girlfriend at the time, Erin Elizabeth. She had a cat that was given 2 weeks to live, and so she got our water system, and the cat lived 2 more years. But she said the cat wouldn't drink any water, and then when she would put Echo water, the cat would run over to it and drink it, and so the cat knew something was in the water that I need, because most cats want running water, right? They don't want to drink water out of a bowl like a dog. They want something running. Yeah. So the reality is they'll drink Echo water even when it's static because it has energy and it has that life force that they're looking for. So animals are very smart and they usually can't complain like a human being can. They don't have the ability to communicate with words all the time like we do. I think dogs and cats are pretty dang smart. And, we had our dog prior to this dog was a red wolf and a Australian Shepherd mix. Talk about a brilliant animal. At least 45 words that dog knew. I could say a word, it would go do, very brilliant animal. Now we have a Jacoby, which is a Jack Russell and a Beagle mix, and he's smaller, 11 pounds, and it works for us. But my wife loves animals. We love animals, and they can't complain about pains and aches like we can, and so they just suffer. And so I would tell you that Dr. Marlene Siegel, I don't know if you've heard that name before, but she's a natural vet in Florida, and she taught us about species appropriate diets 10 years ago. And that's because our dog started to have some arthritis. And she was like, oh, here, bring him to my place and I'll keep him for 3 days, see what's going on. And she goes, all I did was change his food and it was gone. And of course, never been back. And so we learned a lot from her. She's amazing. And she, of course, had our water in her practice in her veterinary hospital in Pasco County, Florida, but Tampa area. But, we all learn from others. We all learn things from others who are experts in their fields. And all I want to do is share the knowledge that I have gained so it can help someone else to live their best life.
Now, I'm excited to do the test because our little Siberian, his name is Everett. He's got his own Instagram page. So we have the running water bowl. Got one of those. He doesn't touch it.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
But now we're going to see. So I'm going to set him in front of the running water and then put the hydrogen water in there and set him in front of that. And we'll see what he does. But we'll videotape it before and after. So now, then there's no placebo with animals. They don't have any agendas at all.
Right.
And they're going to tell you because their senses are so incredible. And yes, they are hyper intelligent.
Yes.
They have an intuition that's just crazy.
Oh,
like my dogs know every vehicle that I drive. We have a whole bunch of different vehicles for the company. And no matter what, if I'm driving, my wife will tell me, they hear you a mile away. You're coming. And they start to get excited. They don't get excited with any other vehicles going by. It's so amazing.
We can learn forgiveness from animals. They are so forgiving. We can learn how to love without judgment from animals. There are so many things we can learn from animals. Yeah.
Yeah. And we can learn today from your revelation of getting this information out. You've fully matured this. You're always going to be always looking for ways of improving. I'm very excited about the new bottle you have coming out. Now, is there a link that you could share where people can get any special deals if they purchase?
Yes. If they go to echowater.com, we can create a special link for you where they can get a discount. We don't run constantly sales all the time, maybe small ones.
One last thing I want to ask you.
Sure.
When you get anyone out there who is, I don't know why people do this, but maybe they're trying to make themselves stand out of the crowd and be a bit unique or a bit disparaging and stuff. I've heard some people say that hydrogen is actually not good for you. Like, hold it. I got to ask Paul this one because I know it's only good for you. But why would people do that? And what would you say to someone if they said, well, I've done a study and I found out that hydrogen isn't good for the human body? What would you say to them?
So I would first ask a question before I would comment, say, what kind of hydrogen were you putting in the body to say it's not good? And how were you testing that? Because when you use the word hydrogen, it can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. When I say hydrogen, I am only referring to H2 gas.
Right.
I'm not referring to hydrogen ions. I'm not referring to any other molecule of hydrogen. So you have deuterium, for example, that people can say is heavy water or hydrogen. That's not at all what we're talking about. I'm not talking about H plus, which is a hydrogen ion. That would make the water acid, and that would not be a benefit to the body. I'm talking about H2 gas that is neutral, and it is beneficial to the human body. Incredibly beneficial. So I would first ask them, how did you test it? And some of them say, oh, I have this device that says it produces hydrogen. And I'll say, well, that device doesn't produce hydrogen. It makes chlorine, right? So a lot of these bottles on the market that are cheap, just understand that what this cost us, and again, we sold 100,000 of these in 2024 alone. So we clearly get the best price in the world on these bottles, and we can't even make them for the price that these scam companies are selling cheap bottles for on Alibaba, on Amazon. You can only get this bottle from us. This is a patented bottle. This is Echo only. And there's even people out there saying you can get the same bottle on Alibaba. It's not true. Don't listen to them. I've been the only human being that's ever sold this bottle. We are the only ones that sell this bottle, and you can't get it from anywhere else. The reality is what this costs us to make it is about the same cost as the cheap bottles that are being sold as hydrogen, but they're really the electrolysis bottles that we talked about in the beginning of this recording. They don't really produce hydrogen. They're producing chlorine. They're producing hypochlorous acid. They're producing who knows what combination of chlorine and hydrogen and oxygen. So when you test someone for that, you may absolutely get feedback that it's not good because the body doesn't want chlorine. But there has never been someone who tests for our water because it's just H2 gas in water that their body doesn't crave it and want it. So that's how I would answer that question is what type of hydrogen, what device are you referring to? How did you test the body? If it was feedback, that's fine. I'm all about, if you're properly muscle testing, now that can be another story. The body knows, but we need to understand something. The body is designed to produce hydrogen in the gut. So if hydrogen was bad for you, if the kind of hydrogen we're putting in the water is bad for you, then you would have then every human being having that problem because you're supposed to produce hydrogen, and hydrogen is one of the huge building blocks in your body. So to say that hydrogen is not good for you, it's either someone that's uneducated, it's someone that's selling something else and you're getting in their way,
Right.
or it's someone who doesn't understand and has never read the research. And so I'm inviting everyone to go to hydrogenstudies.com and look up cancer, look up diabetes, look up Parkinson's, look up whatever it is you want. There are so many studies on these disease models, and the language is strong. When you talk about type 2 diabetes mellitus, it says hydrogen water supplementation can prevent type 2 diabetes. And impaired glucose tolerance. This is very strong language. When you talk about the colon cancer study I referred to earlier, it says hydrogen water can inhibit colon cancer. These are very strong languages in studies. And you're talking about a very well done study where the manufacturer of chemotherapy drug 5-fluorouracil tested hydrogen water by itself, naturally occurring, high content hydrogen water by itself, chemotherapy drug by itself, and then combining high content and natural with the chemotherapy drug to see how anti-cancer was natural hydrogen water, how anti-cancer was high content hydrogen water. And they clearly established in the study that high content hydrogen water had a stronger anti-cancer activity in the body than natural. But then they said at the end, high content hydrogen water can inhibit colon cancer. And then it says, especially when combined with 5-fluorouracil. Well, why did they say that? Because when you combine the chemotherapy drug and the hydrogen water, it was 100% cancer cell death in the body. So that would be a good study, wouldn't you say? That if 100% of the cancer cells, well, the question is, why was there 100%? Well, that's because hydrogen water benefited apoptosis. It turned back on apoptosis. So clearly those cells were now destroying themselves. That's why you had such high percentage of cancer cells gone, is because the body was destroying it on its own. So again, we understand the mechanism. We understand why it's happening, but we don't know everything yet. We're only in this, I would say, since 2009, when the first study was published by Nature Medicine. That's what blew up all the studies, and why we have 1,400 today is because it showed hydrogen as a selective antioxidant. And no one understood what that meant. No one was like, what's selective antioxidant? Well, that means that hydrogen only reacts with the bad radicals, not the good life-sustaining radicals. That was a new concept. And so today we have 1,400 studies because the scientists and doctors were like, wait a minute, if hydrogen is selective, what else does it do? That's why we have all the studies. So anyone saying that hydrogen isn't anything other than amazing, I think lacks education, or they don't want to be educated and they just want to talk negatively about something they consider new. But to dispel the fact that this is new, the first studies were in 1700s. The World War II, they were using hydrogen for gunshot wounds. In the early 1900s, they were using hydrogen hyperbaric chambers for cancer in the United States and showing tumor reduction. So I would say, yes, we forgot about the efficacy of hydrogen for a long time, but it's not new science. You can go back to Japan, and they did a human trial from 1950 to 1965. Whether they didn't understand it was hydrogen at the time until later, but the point is you had a 15-year human trial. So none of this is new, other than you have myself, you have Tyler LeBaron, who were championing this in 2008, 2009, and beyond. telling the world, hey guys, your arthritis could be helped. Your fatigue could be helped. Your brain issues could be helped. Your neuropathic issues could be helped. You might want to drink this, to today where we have thousands of articles and 1,400 studies proving that what Tyler and I were saying was correct from the beginning.
Well, it's a beautiful dissertation to differentiate yourself, because what you've done is you knew that this was a very beneficial, gas to have in your system. Yeah. How do you produce it in the purest form with the least amount of effort, with the maximum amount of efficacy, so that people can just simply get it now? It's like a one and done.
Yep.
You just go for it, and then there you are. And so anyone who's trying to differentiate themselves differently to stand out of the crowd, to get a name to attack something that's being very popularized based upon the results, not based upon your salesmanship or any of that stuff. It's educational. People are here to educate themselves. I love the fact of the hydrogenstudies.com is there. They can educate themselves and invest wisely.
Yeah.
Because what I've learned is that people actually love themselves and care about themselves, but they don't act like it. A lot of people don't act like it. They're drinking, they're doing like drinking alcohol, doing all this weird stuff that's so harmful.
Yeah.
But they actually do love themselves and they do care about themselves. They just don't know how much yet.
Right.
So, when I was 46 years old, because I had no knowledge, I had a tumor, heart disease, and liver problem so bad that I had a trifecta, which was going to guarantee my departure by 49 if I went the medical route or earlier. And so I knew that there was something out there that I was completely missing. I didn't know what it was, but I woke up one morning and I knew there were people on earth who had the greatest knowledge for supporting the body to naturally get healthy. I just knew it in my gut. I didn't know who they were, how to find them. It's like a needle in a haystack, right? Because you got so much chaos in the natural healing world.
Correct.
But I asked verbally out loud to be led. I said, if I didn't demand it, I said, if I could be led to people like yourself, because you're sitting at the very top with the greatest information for the most important hydrogen gas.
Yeah.
If I could be led to them, I will do whatever it takes. I actually found out that I wasn't caring for myself, but that I actually cared 1 billion times more than I realized.
Yes.
And because I was going to lose my body. It was like, whoa, that's ridiculous. What's going on here?
Right.
Because our bodies are supposed to get healthier as we get old, not less healthy.
Yeah, we're supposed to know better, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, now we know. So thank you so much today, Paul, for really giving a definitive download. It's been amazing. I feel it from your heart, from your being. You're on the ground. You're real. Love it. I just love it. And I want to get this information out to as many people as possible. And I think you're just getting started.
Yeah.
100,000 bottles will be 100 million bottles.
That's right.
And it's going to be, that's where it's going to go. And the sooner the better for people.
Yeah. Thank you. Grateful for you and allowing me to educate others. That's really what our greatest challenge is having people understand the issues they're suffering from. They don't have to. And so it's the greatest message. I wish it was being put out there more, and it will be. 2025, you're right. It will explode again. We have so many individuals that are extremely influential that have become aware and started drinking our water and said, oh my gosh, I got to start talking about this. It has changed my life. And people that have been sick, once they're feeling better, they become your greatest advocates because they don't want other people to feel sick because they've already experienced it. They know what it's like, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what we need to do is educate, and let people make an educated decision.
Right. And then educate themselves by drinking the water.
That's right.
That's the biggest education of all. Amen. So thank you, Paul, for your time.
Thank you.
We went a little bit longer than we expected, but it's been fabulous. I think totally fascinating. And I love it. And I know every listener right today is enjoying this very much. And we will make sure that they get access to everything. And just appreciate your work, Paul. And we'll look forward to further interviews as I get into all these different things you've mentioned as well. And we'll just get another upgraded conversation coming soon.
There you go. Thank you, Ian.